We'd like to welcome everybody out to County Council this evening. Appreciate everyone in attendance. We'll go ahead and start, and on the agenda it says that Council Member Sandy Goodlander was going to do the opening, but Carl Ward has decided that he does a better opening because he's here. So Sandy will be back next time. So Carl, would you please?
I will. I'll give my opening in the form of a prayer. Our Father in heaven, as we gather this evening as a county council, we thank Thee for the opportunity to live in this beautiful place, to enjoy the relative peace and plenty that is here. We're grateful for the good citizens of this county. We pray that Thou will guide and direct us in our proceedings tonight, that we'll be guided to do those things which will be most beneficial. We'll listen to what people have to say, and we'll make correct judgments, that things will move along with peace and in the right way. And we pray for these blessings, and also on those who are traveling or away from us at this time. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Would you like to also do the Carl?
All right, we need a pledge of allegiance. Stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion on approval of the agenda or adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moving second, we adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. How about the minutes from our last meeting?
I wasn't here, so
It's basically just a refer to the video. So,
I didn't see anything that,
okay. You didn't want to change the video?
no. Don't change it. Unless I put a stick figure.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second it.
Moved and second that we approve the minutes from May 30th and June 13th, 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Report from County Executive.
Yes, sir. Good evening, members of the County Council and all who are here. We ask that County Executive Zook be excused. He is with his big family activity tonight. His mother's come in from out of state, and his son-in-law, who's was deployed for 6 months with the Marine Corps. He's just left to be able to see him for the first time in many months. And he's asked me to give an update on several items. There's a vacancy on the Board of Health, and we should be expecting a recommendation from them for that. Also, we've been working on recruiting for the administrative law judge pool that we've discussed in the last few months for the appeals hearing officer position. We've been working with our airport manager to help the airport become more financially stable, especially in relation to snow removal. The county and Logan City each contribute $80,000 per year to the airport, but that hasn't increased in more than a decade, and it may need to increase. Executive Zook attended the State Airports Conference last week, came back with some great information about potential funding opportunities for some projects at the airport. We've met recently with the Budget Committee. We've been working on developing a plan to propose to the Council related to potentially making the ARPA funds available to nonprofits and cities. There should be a proposal ready by the next Council meeting. Also, the EOC met yesterday regarding the flooding, getting an update. We're working on damage assessments now primarily, and with the hope of potentially receiving state funds to help with that. We also met with city managers and the CMPO yesterday and discussed long-range transportation planning in our county. We've also been meeting with departments to start the annual budget process. We hope to complete department meetings by the end of next week. We had a Fairgrounds Advisory Board meeting last week. There are several important projects that the Fairgrounds staff are working on, including securing water rights and acoustic improvements to the event center. And then lastly, Executive Zook, Councilmember Gunnell, several planning commissioners and staff attended the Cash Summit recently. It was a good opportunity to discuss regional growth. So that's all I've got for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. While you're there, you mentioned something about on the appeals, the Board of Adjustment that we don't have anymore.
Right.
I have had several people ask about the appeals process. So where do we send them?
We've got to get those appointments made. And then once those appointments are made.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll get on that as fast as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Let's go to items of special interest. 6A, reviewing sworn statements for conflict of interest submitted by county employees. Julie, did you want to come up and share some things, or do you want to?
Sure. I think that the actual sworn statement was in your.
It is.
Your packet for you.
It is.
So do you just want me to sort of say it over again? Give a little summary quickly?
That would be great.
Is that good? Okay. So my husband and I own our own little company called J&J Adventures. As part of that, we self-published this book that we wrote called 117 Amazing Things to Do in Logan and Cache Valley, Utah. And we sell this in the gift shop. So I don't manage the gift shop, although it's in my department. Laura and Nancy, who has since left in the last 6 weeks, manage the gift shop. So I'm not directly purchasing the inventory. And we sell this book to them, as well as we've created this line of collectible ornaments, Christmas ornaments, and they're all Cache Valley locations, icons. So we have like Dr. Pierce's, we've licensed through the University for Old Main, we have the courthouse, and also Ellen Eccles Theater and a couple of others. And so we sell those to the gift shop as well at a wholesale rate that's standard, and then they're resold to make a profit. We sell those also in other stores, like Cox Honeyland has them, the book table has our book, so several other locations have these as well. So that's kind of our declared potential conflict of interest for that one. So you just want to talk about that one first, or?
Well, go ahead with the second one.
Okay, so then the other things, I do some private consulting on the side in marketing, editing, and writing. One of the accounts that I do have is the Utah Festival Opera and Musical Theater, and I do some marketing consulting for them where I edit some of their materials, I proofread their playbill, I record radio commercials for them. And then through USU Summer Citizens, I teach a week-long course at the university. This year I'm doing 2 courses up there. And then I also, on occasion, lead bus tours for them for the Summer Citizens program. So those are some of my outside work interests. And these have all, by the way, have been approved beforehand by the executive, clear back a couple of executives ago. And so it's always been known all along, but I understand that this is a new awareness process for you as the council to know what's going on.
I have one question. Do any of these organizations receive any grant monies from your department?
We don't give grant monies, but Utah Festival has received a sponsorship from us to the tune of about $1,500. I was doing this work many years before they ever applied or became part of that sponsorship group. We sponsor maybe like about 15 different events and organizations, and that's all recommendations that are given by my advisory board and not just at my volition.
Are there any questions?
No.
Okay.
Thanks, Julie.
Your part.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
You're welcome.
Next, let's, we've got a few minutes before we can set the public hearing and have a public hearing. So I guess we can go down to pending action. And we'll go ahead and initial proposals for ordinance 2023-23, 15.0, updating the fire code. Chief Hammer. We
Okay.
can go faster.
Yeah. So This section of the fire code is an appendix. It has to be adopted by the municipality. It deals specifically with sprinkler system fire flow. We already have an ordinance in place for the amount of water that's required, but when builders are designing these sprinkler systems, they come back and they ask, how much water do you need to flow? And it's usually gallons per minute for a given duration. And while that's limited somewhat by the source, they also need a flow amount. And we always refer to Appendix B table that I'm asking you to adopt, which is standard. We give those numbers to the builder, then the builder comes back, or the architect, and says, well, you guys haven't adopted this, so you can't really enforce it, but what do you want us to design to? And we kind of go back and forth, and it creates some vagaries in their design process. So if we adopt this, then it'll standardize the numbers that they will expect us to require. And then in addition to that, B103.1 allows us to decrease the fire flow requirements from the table for isolated buildings or a group of buildings in rural areas or small communities where the development of full fire flow requirements is impractical. So in areas where you don't have a municipal system, they're relying on tank water, we can use our judgment to say, you're close, you're going to be okay, you don't have to meet the entire level of that table.
I have a question. On I, it says we exempt all structures in the forest recreational zone, FR 40?
In ours, that came about, it's just storage facilities. So that's a specific building designation that we exempt from this requirement. And that's mainly due to people trying to do like a machine shed or something in areas where there's no water, limited access. Those have been exempted from the sprinkler requirement.
But if it's open to the public and different things, then that comes under consideration.
Right.
Right?
Then the building wouldn't be designated as storage. It would be
Right.
designated as a different type of occupancy.
So are there any other zones in the county that are affected by this, or is this all zones? Do you see what I mean as far as in the county, A10, RU5,
Yes.
RU2, whatever?
So the adoption of this would apply to all zones in the county. So any building anywhere in the county that's required to have a sprinkler system, then this would apply to that.
Can you just update me on what that requirement for that building would be, so I understand that?
Depends on the size of the building. The lowest flow is if you're, I'm trying to look at building construction type. The smallest building is 3,600 square feet, would be 1,500 gallons per minute for 2 hours, which is a lot. And that's why we've asked that we can reduce that so that it makes a little bit more sense. We won't increase this. We're not asking for authority to increase it. Typically, commercial buildings, when you hit that 20,000 square feet, that's when sprinkler systems are required. And that gets into 4,000 gallons a minute for 4 hours. And again, that's just an insane amount of water. So we want to have a design element, but then we want to have the ability to reduce.
Okay, just some thoughts I had as I read through it.
Yeah.
Questions? I know this was brought to ordinance and policy review. They went through it and gave you their blessing, as well as it was talked about today in the fire board meeting. And I think we also gave you our blessing in that too, to sit there and go ahead and we can move on that as we need. So with that, I would, if you want to move it till the next meeting to digest more, or waive the rules and
Chair, I move to waive the rules and adopt ordinance amending 1508, updating fire code regulations.
is there a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded that we waive the rules and adopt ordinance 2023-23 on amending 15.08, updating the fire code regulations. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hammer. Let's go ahead and go down to Resolution 2023-07. Matt, are you, or who's doing the multi-jurisdictional access?
I am, we're on the agenda above that to open a public hearing.
Oh, we got to do the public hearing first. Dang it, I was hoping you'd, but our public hearings aren't till 5:30. Man, we're flying. Okay, with that in mind, let's go to 11A. Let's get that one kind of talked about. Everyone got that in your packet about the audit on the fleet. Is there, and some of you, I thought, wanted to share some, or have some input on what your thoughts were on this? I'll open that up for discussion for everybody, anybody.
Is anybody from the department going to talk to us about it? I actually have received 2 pictures from citizens about some county vehicles with questions, so.
You mean like, why are they at church?
Why are they so decorative tires and rims and stuff like that on a county vehicle?
Wow. Well, as you've read this, now, some of this was first shared where, at the audit committee?
Yeah, this was first
Okay,
shared in our audit committee meeting.
so you probably didn't have a whole lot of time to digest it very much either, right?
Well, we talked about it quite a while.
Oh, did you?
We did. Yes, we did.
Yeah, well, I've read through it, and I'm kind of appalled at the process here, but why, I just can't believe we've been just paying so much money on vehicles that are gone.
Well, what the audit really disclosed is that we have 383 titled assets. That's title assets. That doesn't include loaders and other types of equipment like that. But some of them are, 23 were noted as surplus, 2 were noted as having been traded in, and 126 were trailers or equipment outside the scope of the analysis. That left 232 fleet vehicles on the rolls. And the insurance roster listed 312 vehicles, fleet vehicles. And so the bottom line simply is that trying to manage this many vehicles and having the insurance handled by one department and having each separate department managing their own vehicles just leaves a lot of gaps in reporting and keeping things, keeping track of things in the way they need to be kept track of. One suggestion made was a need for some kind of central control, a fleet manager, if you will. And it was discussed about having that as maybe someone who's in the in Matt's department, if they had a little free time or something, that they could be assigned to be the fleet manager, and they could if they have some mechanical skills and things, they could even be in charge of some of the maintenance on these vehicles, oil changes and lubrication and things like that, and save the county some money that way by doing some of these things in-house. I'm sure you haven't been talked to about that at all, Matt, but
We've had some discussions, Carl. This has been coming around for a little while, so we've had
Has it?
some discussions. Recently, we haven't had a lot of discussions, but we're open to trying to find solutions that help the county.
so anyway, the bottom line is that we feel that there's a need for some kind of centralized control over the large number of vehicles that the county owns, and trying to put something together that might work. I don't think the intention tonight is to come up with a solution, but at least to make aware of the council the need that we have to find a solution to not insuring vehicles that we don't own anymore, and those kinds of issues, because you can't really blame any particular department or any particular situation. It's just the fact that we don't have in place at the present time any kind of central point for keeping track of the vehicles. And so that's something that we as a council and the executive's office need to contemplate and decide if we can come up with a solution to do that saves us money and doesn't cost us money.
I think another thing that was brought up too were the titles. We were having a rough time finding titles.
Finding titles, yeah.
And where they're stationed at, and so again, probably finding a way either through ordinance or policy review to have a central place where all the titles are recorded.
Yeah.
Like we're looking at with the contracts.
I appreciate that input. So, well, I think it's something definitely that we will be digesting. I think we'll be working through that. It's something that, again, taking care of the people's business. I think that's what we really need to concentrate on these kind of things. So,
Yeah, I mean, take some time.
yeah,
read through this.
it's a good read. It's a good audit.
And it really is a good audit. There's discussion in here about which is more cost effective to purchase or to lease. And so.
It did address that depends on the year. It depends on the economy. There's so much that's happening.
Yep, there is.
So, same thing, even I think we'll be talking about a budget issue, that same kind of deal where, sometimes there are a whole bunch of them available and you can lease them or you can purchase them cheaper, and then all of a sudden COVID hit and now you can't even find one, those kind of issues hit you. So anyway, it's like species extinction, will adapt rather than die.
If I may.
Sorry, yeah, I'm
As looking through this, I didn't see if there was any analysis that said, if we had an excess or if we needed as many vehicles. Is that something you talked about as an audit committee? No. That wasn't addressed in the audit, so this was just matching everything up as far as.
Right.
Right.
Is that a separate audit that we could ask her to make as far as coordinating with different departments, or?
That's probably would be a little bit outside of the purview of an audit, because she certainly wouldn't understand the operations of a specific department and understand what the needs are. That's more in line, I think, with the executive's office, keeping and working with the departments and deciding what vehicles are necessary, and if we have too many or if we don't have enough in any one area. And there was also some discussion about if there's some kind of a central point for managing these vehicles, if somebody needs to, say, borrow a vehicle to go to a meeting in Salt Lake, they can go to a point to get one, find one that's available and use it and have it available. And so it would create a lot, some significant efficiencies, I think, in
That could all be wrapped into this fleet manager or
Yeah.
whatever this role is that we.
okay.
yeah.
Chair, if I may?
Yes.
Really, you came to the conclusion I was going to state, that a fleet manager, we're hoping to make this a part, potentially, of the upcoming budget proposal. And if the council wants it to come sooner than that, we'd be happy to. We're trying to pull together with Amy job description. We discussed in the committee how it may or may not be really a full-time position. So we're trying to see where it might fit best in the county. We also discussed the fact that, not that we offered Matt's facility, but there may be options for us to use different parts out there to help, like service the vehicles and things like that. But these fleet managers, I'm pretty familiar with my wife's employment at Fox Pest Control. They have like 700 vehicles. It's an actual thing. Like there's a person that just does that, and they would help us with that analysis on, honestly, if we have too many, I think we could definitely find some savings and some efficiencies just from having a fleet manager.
I still like Carl's last statement. Do you want to say that again?
You're asking somebody my age to remember what I
About
That's a good one.
not costing?
said. Yeah, oh, that's the
Savings
point. We don't want to add additional cost to the county in doing this. We want to save the county money. And the whole point of it would be doing a cost analysis to see what we could, but if we employed somebody, what we would save, and if the cost savings would justify having a position like that, or if it could be rolled into someone who's already in a position with the county that might have excess time available to do that. Bottom line is we want to lower the costs as much as we can overall for the vehicle fleet that the county has.
Appreciate that. Any other? We'll go ahead, and then that's it. I'm glad we put that on there just for discussion. We'll make sure we keep pushing that effort to find the best way there. So let's, I think we're close enough here. Let's go back to setting a public hearing. Let's go ahead with 8A. Is there anyone that would, I'd entertain a motion to set that public hearing.
Move to set the public hearing for July 11th for ordinance 2023-8479 rezone for 5:30 on the 11th of July.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moving second, we set the public hearing for July 11th, ordinance 2023-22, 8479 rezone. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, that is set. Okay, let's go ahead to 8B. Do we have to go in that order, or should we get 8C out of the way first?
Let's do C.
Let's do 8C. Matt, we like you. So let's go 8C real quick, and then we'll go back to 8B.
I didn't see Cameron, so maybe that's a good thing, huh? Maybe we're not ready for the budget. I just I prepared a few slides to just introduce this before the public hearing, and then we can talk about it after. So you can go ahead and start that and go to the second one. I got a request for some multi-jurisdictional access and some right-of-way dedication. I know you guys have some stuff in your packet, or I hope you do, but I wanted to just kind of explain why we're here and why we're in a public hearing, and it's to try to come into compliance with the county code. So the first one I have up there is from the road manual, and it says anytime access is used for multi-jurisdictional development, it requires the express written approval of the Cache County Council. So this resolution's in two parts. One's to get your written approval for a development to use the county roads that's not in the county. The second one is any acceptance of right-of-way, easements, or roadways, the county council shall authorize the county executive to accept with conditions, or reject any new right-of-ways. And at the bottom of that, it says all such actions shall be made in a noticed public meeting. So we're here to get your express written approval for multi-jurisdictional access, and we're here in a public meeting to get your approval to authorize the executive to accept any right-of-ways. So that's the purpose of why we're here. The request is for a Willow Lake subdivision. That subdivision's in Logan City, so just a few bullet points. The access was required as part of Logan City's approval to provide a secondary access similar to the county. Any developments that have a certain number of lots, in this case it was 20, I think, for Logan, required a secondary access. The access request is for 1400 west between 900 south, 1100 south. They'll be required to dedicate some right-of-way, which we'll see in a couple slides, and the developer is going to construct the road. So, next one. This is kind of an overview of where we're talking about in the county. So, kind of a big picture. You can see where we are in Logan in relation to Providence, Nibley, kind of that side of town. Go next one. This is a little closer of the area. I apologize, that's a little hard to see up there. But this kind of shows you where you're going from a Logan City boundary on one side to another Logan City boundary on the other side. That's 1400 West, and that's the jurisdictional access that they're requesting. And then the little highlighted red piece is where we'll see in another slide that there's no current right-of-way there. That would be the right-of-way dedication that we would be accepting. So if you go to the next one, that gives it's a little cleaner. There's currently no road in 1400 West. It's been dedicated since the early blocks and lot plats with Logan City, the farm survey plats. This access goes from one city road to the other city road, so it's not impacting any other county roads. It's secondary access for this development. So I'm just trying to give you some background. That's kind of that parcel viewer with the proposed subdivision kind of overlaid how that would fit in there, so you can see what the proposed subdivision looks like. The next slide kind of shows you just kind of looks at the subdivision, and you can kind of see where 1400 West would fit into that secondary access, with the main access being on UDOT's road on 10th West. This is a little blow up of that portion of right-of-way that would be dedicated. And then the last slide is part of the cross-section of the road that's proposed to build meets county standards. It actually exceeds county standards. It would be a 40-foot wide road with curb and gutter that would be installed by the developer. And we've had some discussions with Logan City, and they're willing to maintain that road because they'll be going there anyway. So because Logan's agreed to maintain it, so.
Forever.
So, I know there's plans. I'll let others answer any questions you may have, but if there's any questions for me to just kind of introduce this.
We'll wait till after.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and have the public hearing.
Yep. So if any questions in general about why we're here, or what the request was, I can answer those. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, turn the lights on so we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in behalf or against in any way on this proposal?
Move to close the public hearing.
You're in the public hearing?
I did receive a letter, so I would like to read that letter. It says, "To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter to confirm that I have met with and spoke with the proponents of the Willow Lakes project. On more than one occasion, they have consistently shown themselves to be thoughtful and considerate of any impacts their development might have on neighboring landowners, and I have looked for ways to create mutual benefit. I support them and voice my approval of their development efforts. Sincerely, Deborah Kitchen." She's one of the adjacent property owners to 1400 West.
Thank you. Hey, Dr. Parker.
Wayne Parker, and I'm from the Deborah Kitchen. I'm on the east side of that, and actually we have sold them an easement to complete that 1400 West road. So the only problem is it now dissects my cattle grazing, but anyway. But we have agreed with that to put that road in. It will be Worth County, as you see the map up there, why there's Tony Jensen and ourselves that are all surrounded now almost 360 degrees by city. And so that road was necessary for their development, and maybe generation down the road we'll develop too, but so we're in agreement with that right now.
Thank you. Any others?
Okay, now move to close public hearing.
Second. Moving second, we close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll come back, Matt, we'll come back to that here in just a second. Let's go ahead and go to 8B on the opening of the budget. Brittany, are you? Okay, you're going to be the spokesperson there. If you'd like to, give us a little overview. We'd love to listen to you.
Got like the nervous.
Give us.
Okay, Phil and Cameron were both unable to be here tonight, so Phil asked me to fill in as a representative of the finance department. I don't know all of you, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Brittany Kingston. I'm a budget analyst in the finance department. So I do work with some of the department heads with their budgets, and so I kind of have a little bit of experience working with the budget, even though I've never presented a budget before. So I am here to answer questions, to kind of be general support from the finance department. I don't know
Okay.
if there's much else I need to say at this point.
Are there any major things that as I'm sure you'll probably answer questions from us anyway, but are there some things that might save us a little time that you would point out that?
Most of the budget amendments that are proposed in this amendment are from RAPS and restaurant tax and the ARPA projects. This would be the budget to support the ARPA projects that were awarded or approved a couple of meeting. I think it was last meeting. There are a couple of other. Most of the other ones are kind of in this general section, the opioid settlement. This one would just be the known amount that we agreed upon to give to the Bear River Health Department. The other portion that was for the county, the $48,999 that was planned on being kept to the county. We haven't, to my knowledge, we haven't agreed on which departments we're going to use those funds, and so we don't have a budget proposal for that at this time. So we just have the agreed amount that we were going to give to the Bear River Health Department. And then we have some RAPS and restaurant tax items, and then down a little bit lower we have the suicide awareness donation, number 7. What happened with that was in December we took out of the budget the suicide awareness in the fairgrounds budget, but we did budget in the community foundation to receive some donations that were missed when we took that out of the budget. So this is just to take that out of the budget to receive the donations in the foundation.
Is to take it out of the foundation?
Yes, so we had
And move it to?
nowhere, just to take it out of. So what we did when we budgeted for it is we budgeted to receive donations in the foundation for the suicide awareness program or suicide awareness event. But now that it's going to be run by the United Way, when we took it out of, so when we budgeted for it, we need to budget to collect those donations from the Cache County Community Foundation. But then also we recorded the budget to move the donations from the foundation to the fairgrounds budget. So in December, when we removed them from the fairgrounds budget, we forgot to also remove it from the Cache County Community Foundation budget.
Okay.
Let's see. And then item number 8, it's kind of a big amount. Phil explained to me that the mental health, Bear River Mental Health is on a fiscal year and we're on a calendar year. So that's just the difference between the estimated amounts and our actual amounts. And so we're just requesting to make that adjustment so that the budget matches our actual amounts. And then we just have a few small other departmental requests with the ARPA and restaurant tax. There wasn't anything that was jumping out at me that maybe would be asked questions about, but
We'll go ahead and have the public hearing, and then don't leave.
I won't. I'll just be right here. Thank you.
And then we'll probably have some questions after.
Mr.
Thanks,
Chair.
Brittany.
I have some information on one, but I don't know if you want that one, a comment now or later. Just general information on one of these that are
Public hearing?
new. And if they ask about it, maybe.
Go ahead and share it.
Okay, great. Item number 24 might be new to your eyes. Our treasurer, Craig McAllister, brought this to our attention, that for an inserter, folder, and sealer machine might seem like something kind of minor, but the assessor, several of our departments really rely on that machine. And about a week ago, the display went out. So technically, is it functional? Yes. It will run the last program that was inputted into it, but we don't know what program that is. And so he's been referring to it as a boat anchor. And knowing that Craig McAllister he was fired up about this for about a week and went out, and no joke, looked across the whole country, contacting different people who were selling used ones, and this was the best option he came up with, and it's cheaper than some of the some of the other ones. So we just wanted you to know that's new, and we didn't want you to be surprised, and it's just a kind of a key piece of equipment that a lot of people use. It just sits over here in the mail room on the second floor. And Craig was the one that did all of the research on that, but technically this is going into the buildings and maintenance budget. So I just wanted to share that information with you.
He presented that to us in the audit committee.
Yeah, he did.
So we got that bit of information that way.
Yeah.
I've got a question about that also, but I'll come when we were discussing it later.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and open up the public hearing for the opening of the 2023 budget. Yeah, is there any input that anyone would like to stand up, share? Pick a number as you come up. You got number 1 right now. Boy, this is reverent night tonight. Okay, close the public hearing, somebody.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Move and second that we close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, let's all go on down there to 10, let's go to 10B. Okay? What questions do you have on the budget? And is this something that that we can address right now and work through it?
I didn't have any questions as I read down through this.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I believe, and Alma or Brittany can correct me on this, that item 56, which is an ARPA request from the roads department, because it's a new ARPA request, it needs to be individually approved, same as all the rest of the ARPA requests that you approved 2 weeks ago. So that specific request was not
I thought that had already been approved, so.
So because this is being added, it needs to be individually approved before it can be included in the entire budget.
Thank you. That is an ARPA request then. Not a small one.
Well, and that would also tie in with what we got to discuss on number 9 to see when that came before the budget committee, that was a huge amount of money, and we're still deciding where the trailhead's going to be and what's going to go there for the Deep Canyon Trailhead.
I have clarification.
Yeah.
Number 9.
Is this the one that was actually approved?
Yeah, so number 9 is actually ARPA money that was approved last year, and it's just being rolled over into this year's budget. So
Right.
that's not new money.
And then, I hate to bring this up, but in the budget committee yesterday, it was pointed out as we approved the veterans ARPA money last council meeting. I'm very, very much for that, but there has been some things brought forward that I think we need to check in a little bit on that before we proceed. I mean, slap me for saying this, but I'm hesitant because I very much want them to have the money, but I also think we need to make sure that they meet some qualifications that were discussed in the budget meeting that may potentially not be there.
Yeah, because we have county liability And if some of those requirements are not met by the nonprofit, the county is taking the liability on themselves for it. So we need to take a closer look at that, and I'm with Nolan. I feel bad about this, but we really don't want to put the county in jeopardy on any of this.
So does that include that number 10 would not be approved in this budget opening?
That's what we need to discuss, I think. David?
That's exactly what we're discussing. I'm with, I mean, all of us are, we understand our love for the veterans. But there's also, I guess there's a vetting process that possibly did not occur in this particular one that we need to make sure it goes through. And I understand what you're saying totally, because I've had discussions with other council members, same thing. There's a vetting process that everything needs to go through, and this one here, as emotional as it is, it's really not good for us to vote on our emotions. There's a way that we can work through something and get a better application, better process, make sure it's vetted so that we get so we can help them get their money, but we got to do it the right way.
Well, I think of any nonprofit, they were engaged in doing all they could because they were applying to the federal government, they were doing things, but not only what you're saying on the vetting, but there's a few things that were brought up in the budget meeting that we need to verify on that organization, that it meets the 501c and some other things that are proper.
Right. That's correct.
Okay.
We need, yeah.
With that, and with listening to you, is there I would entertain a motion on number 10. Either if you want to keep it in, or if we ought to.
Can it be?
It can just
be discussed and verified. Mr. Anderson, do you know where we would be as far as what we talked about in the budget committee and those steps that were outlined in verifying those nonprofits coming before us? Because there were some points brought out that they did not meet that. So how soon could we get that?
We would just need to work with them. That wouldn't be a problem. And you mean specifically with this one?
Yes.
Yes. So we would need, Alma would work with them. I know he worked with them previously, and this specific issue we've known about for a while, but we didn't, they didn't really make the cut before in previous rounds. So, but we can work with them, no problem, to check on the 501c3 and any other issues we talked about in the meeting. I don't think it would take that long. It really depends.
Which is the same process for all 501, which is for all applications, right?
I'm not sure that do we verify their 501c3, that kind of thing?
They have a 501c3.
Yeah, so I'm not remembering specifically what other requirements, unless, yeah.
I guess the vetting process for them isn't any different than all the others.
No.
Okay, we've got to make sure that,
Yes.
that all that occurs with every application that comes in.
What were the,
Yes.
what were the potential liability issues to the county? I mean,
yeah.
that's looking for rent and for a vehicle.
I can speak to, Barbara, do you want to?
I think one of the concerns that was expressed is that a 501c3 usually has a board of directors. And this, right now at this time, we haven't been notified of the board of directors. So what's happening is this money is going to almost a personal, and Micah, correct me, a person, that's going to be in charge of it instead of going to a 501c3 with a board of directors voting on what's going to take place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And specifically, when the director came to us before, it was Phil, and now we understand he's actually stepped down. That alone would not take very long for Alma to follow up with at all. But just to follow up with Carl's comment, with the liability issue, It's more along the lines of when we approve and the county approves these ARPA-specific projects, Alma now then has to go back and ensure that we're using them as we said we would, that we're complying with all the federal rules and guidelines. But if we award these ARPA funds out to nonprofits or even cities, we actually kind of become the grant manager for them, because the county is still responsible to the federal government for the disbursement and the use of those ARPA funds. And that can be a hairy thing. So I think and that was one of my concerns, quite frankly, about opening it up to nonprofits. Alma's already got a pretty big job just making sure that we comply with all the requirements. But the interesting thing is we know our own people, we know our own departments, but then if you disperse it out to a nonprofit, we're relying on them to use it well, and then we have to check on their compliance. It just becomes a little more complicated, and there's the liability there.
Okay, so our ARPA monies, when we approve these, are they automatically cut a check to that organization, or do they show an expenditure, receipts, invoice, whatever it may be, that process, and then that amount is cut for that, right? Okay, so the money still stays in-house, and as they spend it, then they're reimbursed. Okay, that's what, so it's not not that you just give them all the money and then we gotta go do an audit on their books, see if they spent it right. We should, as they spend it, we know that they're spending it right as their invoices, expenses coming to us, right?
Right.
That's what I need, okay.
And from what my understanding is that we didn't have proper receipts from the veterans, is that for their rent?
Well, that's more details about, like, I think they had things in line, but I don't think, are we ready, Alma, to just disperse that money already, or yeah, so they'd still have to go through and show us that they've done what they said they would. My worry again would be more along the lines that we've done our review, which tends to not be as deep and technical as maybe 5 years from now we get a federal audit on how we used our ARPA money, and just by luck of the draw, it happens to be one of those nonprofits. And then the Fed auditors look into that specific one, and they find something that was more specific, or they felt was outside of the requirements, when we did everything we could to ensure their compliance, but then the Feds decide it wasn't. And so then we'd be liable for whatever damages or whatever, they would want us to do.
Well, and I think also in this whole process, it is critical that education and information is given properly, without promise, but is given properly to any organization that wants to file for these, so that everyone is on the same playing field. We should never go out and solicit organizations and make promises, whatever, and then come back and say, okay, now we got to fulfill these promises. No, that should never happen to any organization. They should, on their own free will, put in their applications accordingly. So, and I think that's critical.
In that same vein, is there a recommendation for the budget committee to come up with steps for what we can even accept? And if we're gonna open to nonprofits, but put in maybe audited financials or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, just say, this is what has to be in place before we can even accept an application, just so that it limits the liability that these are gonna be used as they were intended.
And that was done yesterday?
Yes, that was discussed yesterday.
Okay.
Very much an application and the requirements, and even added to that from our discussion.
It kind of sounds like the old RAPS program all over again. How thick is their book, though?
So does that mean we're going to allow other applications? Or are we doing it just piecemeal for one project, which?
That's what we sent back, we sent that to be detailed out by the budget committee, and are you still in the process, I imagine?
We are.
So
Yeah, we are.
they'll take care of that, and then come back and tell us.
And I might just mention the estimated balance right now of the final eligible funds that are available are around 1.4 million. The budget committee kind of discussed maybe allowing some lower amount so that there's a cushion there in case really urgent county issues come up in the next year, things like that. But just for the council members to know that what we would be talking about extending to the nonprofits or cities is really only in the balance, which is right now at about 1.4 million.
Well, and the amount was 2.9, but that hadn't taken out the 1.5 that Public Works is looking for approval. And if that's approved, then we have the 1.4.
Very good, Barbara.
Okay, so with that in mind, on number 10, I think that we probably ought to,
To amend it?
yeah, we ought to we ought to by motion, either we keep it in or take it out.
Probably take it out at this point, until they have a board and can.
And let the process get vetted.
Go through the process.
Is that a form of motion?
Sounded like a motion to me, Carl.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded that we take number 10 and remove it from this budget hearing for now and let the process occur. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Are there others, as you look at those?
Well, line 56, we need to approve
56 here.
culvert project costs. And that has to be approved, I guess, independent of the budget.
So this has not gone through the budget committee either? This was just added?
It was announced, we
Yeah.
saw that this amount was gonna be there, but,
It needs to be,
everything else.
right.
It's just kind of a late bloomer. It wasn't included in our request that you received 2 weeks ago, but it was discussed yesterday.
Are
I think
these,
we all know, given the spring we've had, there is exceptionally valid reason for that.
and is this number is it specific culverts, or is it just a placeholder to be able to have funds to draw on for culverts?
Matt, you want to address that, please?
Thank you.
Good question.
We were originally awarded $5 million for these types of projects throughout the county. Because of cost and everything else, we found it's probably very easy. I mean, a small house is $1 million, so you think 5 million doesn't go that far as infrastructure throughout the county. We were approached saying, do you think you guys, could you use some more money? We said, sure. And so we put that request in there. So as we look at it, we're not separating the 5 million from the 1.5. We're just kind of combining that, saying now we're going to try to do the same amount of projects and try to find the greatest need. And instead of capping our budget at 5 million, we're going to cap it at 6.5.
And do you feel with that, there's just gonna be more projects, you'll still be able to meet all the timeline requirements that ARPA has outlined?
Yeah, again, I don't think you're going to see the number of our projects increase. You're just going to be able to see that we're going to be able to complete them or make them a little larger. But we still feel like this is a reasonable time frame and a reasonable commitment. I don't think we want to take on any more than that just because of time frames. But we currently have 12 of our first 20 lists that are currently under design. So as soon as those get back, the design is probably 10%. The construction will be the rest of the 90%. So we'll be able to start seeing those numbers lay out once we get some estimates and we get some bids coming back. And we'll be able to put on track to whether we need to increase that list or maybe we extend some of those. We have some projects that could eat 5 million alone. So it's just trying to balance the scope of the projects more so than the cost.
Thank you.
So.
A lot of these are ones that have been discussed specifically in the roads committee.
Some of them have been discussed in the roads committee. There was an initial list. Again, this spring, we could add another 20 to that list. So
yeah,
we have a list of high priority ones, but as they come up, we're trying to just use this money to the best possible resources and wherever the biggest needs are for the county. So.
good.
So
Okay.
as a point of procedure, we need to make a motion to add that item.
Add that to be accepted as part of this budget amendment.
Okay. So moved.
Is there a
I'll second it.
Move and second that we add number 56 as officially to the budget amendment that we are working with right now. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that one has been officially added. Okay, any others looking at this? Is it something that you want to digest for a little while now with everything else, or what is your? Let's see.
I would, with the changes that we've discussed, number 10 and adding number 56, I would make a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented to us. Again, with those changes of 10 and 56 that we've already discussed.
I'd second.
Moved and seconded with the amended changes that we would accept the budget amendment. Is there any discussion? I have a couple of questions.
I was just gonna say, if we got pretty much all of the departments and all of it that we feel are pretty solid?
On,
Reviewed that?
on number 24, that was what we just talked about with Craig McAllister's.
Yep.
Why would that be ARPA eligible?
No.
Not at all. Okay, I was just,
Not even with the sealer, meaning you don't have to lick envelopes?
Have an assembly line with their tongue out.
we hire 10 people, they all get COVID from licking envelopes.
Social distancing and no licking of envelopes?
Oh, I'm asking, because I think that would be a,
Appropriate.
I was hoping that maybe that might be ARPA eligible.
We're pretty sure it isn't, but we can have Alma look at it, and if it is, we can come back with a budget amendment to change the source.
Let's look into that, and why I say that is that I think that we, I guess maybe we could find something that might even last a little bit longer rather than finding a used one so much, I don't know. We'll see what we can find there. And then I had another question on this budget back in, I've got to find it now. I didn't write down the. Do you remember when we had the agriculture, the funds back here, that we had a budget for agriculture that was put in the budget? I know it was put in there for last year.
Was that the spraying and stuff that we talked about?
It was $6,000.
What department was that in?
That's what I'm trying to find it here. And I'm just curious as to why that is zeroed out, and I want to know where that was spent
I can't get control of it.
before I will even vote for this.
Find feature.
Let's see. It was in here. I was reading it, and it shows that it's zeroed out. I'll have to find it, but it showed it out that it was zeroed out, and I'm kind of curious. Apparently, was it spent, or we had $6,000? Because initially I thought $3,000 was supposed to go to the Soil Conservation District in Blacksmith Fork, and $3,000 was supposed to go to North Cache Soil Conservation District. And I want to make sure that it did. But as of right now, they have not received.
Page 14, it looks like there's an agriculture promotion that's zeroed out.
14. We talking not in the summaries?
Not in the summaries, no, in the actual budget.
Thank you for,
I just did the find.
I should have wrote down, I was going through it, but sitting on the tractor.
Page 14, yeah. So agriculture promotion.
Yeah, see, he has it right, it's zeroed out.
Zeroed out.
Yeah. I got a question on that one. Brittany, is that something that you could answer, do you think?
I've got right here.
Now, you said page 14?
Yeah, just right here along the bottom, it has page
On the
14.
bottom, 14 out of 33.
14
There we
of
go, okay,
33.
let me see.
You'll see it, and it's
Okay, I
Yep,
see
there we
it.
are, yeah. Agriculture promotion. I know we had, when we approved that, we had $6,000 put in the budget last year, and I'm kind of curious as to where it went. I just didn't want it to pay for someone's conference somewhere.
I don't know what happened to it, but I can look into it and get back to you.
Well, it shows that it wasn't ever in the budget.
Yeah,
I know, but I remember I asking a very detailed question last fall about that, and that was supposed to have been in there.
I don't know why it's not in there.
Okay, that's one of those disappearing acts.
Yeah, it may have been forgotten to get added in somewhere.
Okay, Brittany,
I don't know.
you'll, by assignment, you'll take on that and come back with an answer on that.
Yes.
Okay, and what was the other one that I had? No, I think that was the two main questions that I had. I guess, okay, with that in mind, we do have a motion and a second. And any more discussion on the budget?
Just for procedural clarification for me, so given that concern of a line item we felt was budgeted that is not present,
And we can deal with,
delay this and then we could vote on it in the next meeting? Or do we have to do another budget opening?
we can delay this vote until the next meeting, and we can find out about that. Or we can vote it, and then it would just come, we could maybe look at it and find it in the next budget opening, possibly. That might be the wisest thing.
I mean, if I
3 months
withdraw my
is-
second or whatever, but yeah,
Would that be, I'm okay with that. It's just as long as we do find the answer on that one. And then my ARPA question on the number 24, I just wanted to, and by then maybe we might have a change or be able to get some details on that too. So with that in mind, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor of then passing with the above amended changes of passing the resolution 2023-06 of the budget opening, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Thank you. Let's go right to resolution 2023-07. Is there, Matt, any questions that you would have on that for Matt? Now, I believe we did see this come back, or came, it wasn't very long ago, last month or two, a couple months ago or something, we had this information and they were going to do this. I just want to make sure, and it's got to be more than just a promise and a head nod, that the Cache County doesn't end up with that road to nowhere. It's going somewhere, but I just want to make sure that if it's going to just be for this city and this city, these in-betweeners just are haunting, like we have had in Providence and Millville area.
I know myself and Brett that's requesting this has had discussions with Logan, and they've both affirmed us that they will maintain it. But when I asked them about a maintenance agreement, they were kind of a little bit hesitant because they want to see it. They'll maintain it, but when they said, hey, if I tell the council that you'll enter a formal maintenance agreement, they said, well, before I commit to that much, can I see what's in the maintenance agreement? So we've got reaffirming that they're going to maintain it, they'll take care of it, but right now they can't, it's not a formal, we don't have anything prepared to say, yes, we will accept all those conditions, so.
Legally, can we survey that chunk out and then give that and make sure that Logan gets that?
Sure, we can do whatever you want.
Then you'd be surrounded completely by Logan.
No,
I just want that home.
Most of these are taken care of with interlocal agreements. There's areas that we plow, there's areas that Logan plows, there's areas that this will have some of their sewer, the water, the storm drain. So those discussions have been had, and I'm confident that Logan City will keep their end of the bargain. But at my level and the level I've been talking to the public works director over there, neither one of us can enter an agreement for the county. So he was reluctant to sign his name on a dotted line or anything until he'd gone through the official process of attorney review and everything else. So, but his handshake's pretty good.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my only beef. Other than that, I think it's. Okay, any other discussion on that you'd like to look at, talk about? I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I will make a motion and waive the rules and approve Resolution 2023-07, multi-jurisdictional access to 1400 West and acceptance of a new right-of-way.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded that we waive the rules, approve Resolution 2023-07. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, that's everything there. Let's go to any of these activities that we have there on the back. Any changes to those?
You can put me down for the North Logan Parade and tentative on the Logan.
Put me down for the Logan.
And I'll be out of town that day, so I won't be able to participate.
Yeah, I'll be out of town too.
On the Lewiston one, I'll have a vehicle and everything we need for that. So that we can ride in and check from and whatever we need there. So
Is there not interest, or are we not doing the Hyde Park Parade? If so, I could do that one too.
I didn't know they have one.
What is that?
The weekend before. So the 21st, or no, sorry, that would be the
I don't
17th.
think we've ever had that one on the list, have we?
We've been in that parade once.
I remember a while back, council was in, but I mean, that's like a while back, so. Okay.
Yeah, Millville had a parade last week, I guess. I didn't know that either.
Last week?
Yeah.
Oh.
Clarkston had a parade Saturday.
Oh. So many parties.
Yep, parade parties.
Put me down as tentative for the North Logan Pioneer Day. It's a pretty good parade. I've been on that one before.
the higher parade.
Nice parade.
Yeah.
And if you could put me down for the USAC Fall Conference.
I'll go, my name also, please.
Put me too.
And the USAC one is just for county councils and commissioners. So that's usually, it'll be a good one, always has been. Any others? I hope I'm not doing third crop out that time, the way things are going, right?
The way things are going.
Yeah. Okay, with that in mind, council member reports. Carl, will you start us off?
Nothing. We basically covered it on the vehicle audit, so nothing else to report.
Thank you.
Yeah, and same for me, covered the committees I've been on, we've already talked about them, so.
And ditto for me. We covered budget and audit, so.
Nolan, coming your way?
The new waste contract people will start in the county in October. I would propose that we invite Blake from Waste Management to come to one of our council meetings, possibly the next, and have him present so that you guys are informed. I know on social media, there's some discussions about all of this going on, and so I think being informed would help. So what do you guys think of that?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Micah, will you make that happen for us?
Yeah, Blake from Waste Management.
Yes, I'll give you his contact information.
Appreciate that.
That's all I have.
Catherine?
We're still working with the OSAC, the Open Space Committee, adopting bylaws and really trying to define how we're going to work as a committee, and it's been good. Slow process, but it's been good. And I really appreciate the efforts of committee members that are putting the time in to make sure that we have a good committee and we have good process.
To talk to you about that.
Okay,
So,
let's talk.
Dave, Micah wants to know if you want that as a workshop.
What's the waste management?
On Waste Management, he just presents his,
Okay.
I'd say it'd probably be good for, instead of the workshop, let's have it public.
meeting.
that's what I'm saying. just
Yeah, public
present
meeting for everybody.
Okay.
So that people can listen and
Yeah.
even ask questions, I would think.
We'll give them, we'll give them 10, 15 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Any others? I have, yes.
We also need to talk about another council meeting this week.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Told you to Keeps us, before we get to that one, I also need, well, we have no member of the executive here. Will someone tell the executive's office that we need for them to start advertising for a replacement member on the drainage, I think it's Drainage District number 4, I believe, out there in Lewiston. One of the members out there who happened to be the president of that drainage district, he passed away while on vacation. Poor gentleman. He passed away out there, and so we need to replace him. And in order to do that, there is public advertising and things that have to occur in that area. And then they'll bring a name to us after that as they send them in. So we'll try to make sure that we'll talk to Dirk after, but we got to get that process going. Okay, also the next thing, I personally don't have any other things except for we must have after tomorrow night's election, to have the replacement for the clerk auditor. We need to, Jeff Cox from the Republican County Committee will probably present the name to me of the winner that night. And upon presenting that name, we have 5 days to ratify that name in a special county council meeting. So we'll have to come together on that,
Can't have tomorrow night?
which we cannot. It has to be advertised for 24 hours. Yeah, it's too bad, but anyway, with that in.
With you.
I know, with that in mind, and yeah, with everything that's going on.
So done, it's
Our
advertised.
options,
tomorrow.
yeah, our options would be probably Friday.
I'm out of town. And how long is Sandy gone? She's gone this week on her
Yeah,
cruise.
she won't be back till next week.
But you have a quorum with you 5, right?
Right, we'll be okay. For option would probably Friday or Monday.
No Monday.
Monday at the latest.
What time on Friday?
It'd be 5 o'clock, because it usually we have to have our meetings. I don't think we can have any
Yeah.
earlier than 5. We can have workshops earlier, but we can't have our meetings any earlier than 5.
Monday's bad, I'll go with Friday.
If you have a quorum without me, go ahead and do Friday. I can't on Friday.
I will be able to Fridays.
Carl, do you think
I think so. I've got to check my calendar.
1, 2, 3.
I'm not sure.
I'd rather be hauling hay. But, no, not to say clerk auditor, sorry, you are kind of important, but that's,
Thursday, I'm sure.
No,
no,
Thursday.
because actually the vote probably wouldn't go till later on that Wednesday evening in 24 hours.
Can it be done?
Notice it on Wednesday before the
Would that work out if we do it Thursday then?
Not for me.
Okay, can any of these, when they're held, can the person do telecom to make a quorum?
I thought it was only an emergency situation.
Well, if an emergency's making
We
quorum.
were able to do that during COVID, but I don't know where the
Yeah,
statute
I
from
don't know
that.
where that goes to.
There was rules propagated during COVID that were allowing that from the state for emergency orders.
Right,
Right.
and that order is no longer in effect, so,
Yeah.
okay.
If you,
But
Let's
does that mean I can't call in? Because I could call in on Friday.
call in, but I don't
Your
think your vote may not count.
yeah, that's what I was told at one
But you
time.
can listen all you want, yeah.
Notice up the meeting right now.
That's why I said,
for
let's notice
tomorrow
it right
night
now for
before
tomorrow
our
after
quorum.
8 o'clock.
Notice the location
Notice
as,
the location that that is possible if you want to do that. I don't know what time the final vote's gonna be done though, so I'd hate
Yeah.
to.
but if you noticed it tonight,
Well, it's not starting till 7, it's 6:20.
Or somewhere.
If it doesn't start till 7, it's 6:20 right now, we can notice it.
Yeah, so I'm driving by here on my way home, so.
We could come back here if we wanted to, at whatever time it's over.
That would actually probably that would be the best if we can do that, don't you think?
I'm
Be great if you could do that, yeah.
Okay, so
Wednesday night.
you send out that notice ASAP, he'll notice it then? Let's
Are
plan on
you
tomorrow
available
night.
for that, Carl?
I guess, I don't know how long
Yeah, I think so.
the party meetings aren't short.
Notice the meeting will be from 5 to 10.
Yeah, that's
I
what
don't
I,
know.
that's what
Is
I'm
that close
concerned
enough?
about.
If we have the meeting from 5 to 10, And it may happen anywhere between, I don't know.
As long as it's estimated.
Sometime after 7, right? And that gives us 24 hours.
Well, listen, we gotta do it right.
Yeah.
9.
I think that might be. Let's not only do it right, but let's do it, let's also, I think we better probably do it respectful. So,
Just do it
I don't
on
know.
Friday.
I think let's just go with Friday.
Okay.
And, let's just do it. We'll just, is that okay? I think that's our best.
If
is
Carl
the-
can, then you have a quorum, right?
I don't know if I can.
Oh, you don't know if you can?
Oh, so
Well, if it was Dave, Barbara, Mark, and Carl, that's a quorum.
That's a quorum.
Oh, okay, good.
Doesn't give you an excuse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Nolan.
Okay, let's go Friday,
Friday
at
at
5
5.
o'clock, and we'll do
Okay.
everything we can at that point. Okay, yeah, we'll, and, I think we gotta, yeah, let's give it the value that we know it needs, so, okay.
Okay.
Well, with that in mind, is there anything else? Dirk, I'll talk with you. Did you get that drainage district thing that I brought up? You guys need to move on that, so
Okay.
I'll give you more details. Other than that, we'll go ahead and adjourn.